Love is a high-risk behavior.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast, High Risk for Heartbreak. I am your host, Christina, and I'm so glad you decided to join me today. If it is your first time, I want to welcome you to the channel and welcome you to the space. I hope that you are able to acquire some value from this. And you have just jumped into the second installment of a 8-part series that I'm doing on creating space for the gift of love in this Christmas season, or should I say this holiday season, because I'm sure this is going to drive us into the new year. And so I just want to welcome you. Thank you guys for coming. I also want to say that this is for me. Okay. So these episodes are for me just as much as they might be for some of you out there watching. And I couldn't be more humbled. I couldn't be more humbled how God is trying to work through me through my own words. It's amazing how things happen. But today we are going to discuss how we can recognize if we have hardened parts of our hearts. As a woman who has traversed a few long-term romantic relationships, all of them ending in heartbreak, I didn't know that each of them has sort of taken a piece of me and left behind these remnants, which I spoke about in the last episode. These remnants have shown up as residual heartache, as cynicism, which was not really a huge thing for me, but now I'm starting to reconsider literally over the last week. I'm like, wait, maybe this is something that I do struggle with. I haven't in the past because I think I generally err on the side of positivity and optimism and hope. And cynicism seems to be a little bit opposite of that for me. However, you get chipped away at enough, it becomes harder to not see the world the way that it is showing up for you. They have left behind, of course, these remnants, skepticism, which has caused me to be, I think, more critical and scrutinizing towards men who have showed interest in me, just making it very hard, apparently. These remnants I like to think of as scars. A remnant is something that's kind of like left over, like I talked about yesterday, the mud, tracking mud into the house, or the dirt specks that come off of dried mud. Those are the remnants. Those are the things that is left behind from heartbreak. As we know, when the skin heals, it, like stitches, leaves behind a tougher version of itself known as a scar. It is a visible indication that in that place there was trauma, there was woundedness and vulnerability at some point. And while not all scars are signifiers of those things, heartbreak, I think, can have a particular sensitivity when it is touched. Last season, or maybe it was this season, I discussed briefly the sensitivity of scars and how when you touch them just right, you will receive sensations to the skin unlike the ones that existed before the skin was ever broken. You can test this out by touching an old scar mark and then touching another part of your skin in that same area, and it has a different sensation. And our heartbreak feels so much like this. The difference is that over the years, or over this year, you may have received a lot of wounds that have healed over and over again, but in the same spot, and that same spot is your heart. To receive multiple wounds over time in the same spot introduces a different level of sensitivity to the once wounded area. And if you're anything like me, you will find yourself guarding that area to protect from someone brushing up against it again. Even when people come into our lives and they have intentions to love us purely, the sensitivity of that scar can keep us on high alert for fear that they might hit it again. We might question their motives when they come and they want to get close to our heart. We might be skeptical of their ability to even properly handle it. And this year, I personally noticed some partitioning occurring in many of my relationships, not just romantic. It seemed like people who I loved were moving away from me. And initially I thought, something must be going on with them, until my therapist helped me to understand that sometimes something might actually be going on with me. And he asked me these questions to consider around the condition of my heart, which is so apropos because that is my life mission. It's all about the condition of the heart. This show is all about reconditioning the heart. And it was, I believe, God's way of saying to me that the work has been good, but it is not finished. My heart still needs some reconditioning. God used my relationships to reveal to me how unrecognizable the scars of heartbreak can actually make you. I'm using a scar cream on a scrape that I have on my forehead from a freak accident that happened last week on set. As you guys know, I am a stunt woman and an actress, and I had a stunt where the stunt went fine, but there was a freak accident and I ended up with a concussion and some scrapes and things, and just a little banged up. I'm covering it with makeup, so don't zoom in too much, you guys. Okay, don't zoom in. But if you have to zoom in, here it is. Yeah, so I'm using the scar cream that is promising to do this thing, right? It's promising to soften and to fade the evidence of this scar. And as I was reading the reviews for the scar cream and for a few different ones, I was probing the comments to just see how it didn't work, looking for the negative ones. And I noticed at that time that I wasn't operating from a place of faith that it would be able to do what it says. Rather, I was skeptical that it could do what it said it would do. I was skeptical that the scar cream could heal the visibility of my scars forming on my forehead. I was skeptical because in the past, other creams were unable to meet the need. My heart had become conditioned to be hard. Is that you? In this place where you are right now, are you healing with a hardened heart because of false promises and broken covenants? Are you healing again from trauma and a wound and vulnerability that you openly gave to someone? If that is you, the rest of this mini-series is for you. We will be creating the space to receive the gift of love. Step 1 of the last episode was to consider if there is mud on your heart. As we know, mud, when it dries, it hardens and it flakes off. And so if you have a hardening heart or a hardened heart, you will be flaking off on others who are seeking to be in relationship with you of any style. So I urge you to continue to tune in through the new year. I expect that this will be very life-changing. Thank you guys so much for loving yourself first so you can then go and love your neighbor. I'll see you in the next one.
Why don't you stay a little longer? You like what you like, right? Subscribe to the channel so we can spend a little more time together, and maybe comment your thoughts because I care what you're thinking. Love is the risk and the reward.